Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I am starting a book diary for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. If you guys have not seen a book diary from me before, it is a spoilery reaction vlog. If you have not read or seen the movie for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, I would recommend not watching this video. So my preconceptions going into this one is that it will be my favourite in the series. Goblet of Fire is one of my favourite movies, and I remember from when I read these when I was a kid that I really enjoyed this one. However, I'm not sure if that's going to turn out to be true because I obviously just read The Prisoner of Azkaban, which I thought would be my least favourite, and it's actually my favourite of the ones that I've read so far. So who knows what's going to happen from here on out. I don't have too much to fill you in on as of yet on this. I am only almost 30 pages into this. I just thought while I had natural light I would get this started because I like to not look like complete trash when I start a book diary, so I thought the natural daylight would help with my complexion a little bit. But that's all I've got for now. I will let you know when I have something to say about this. Hey guys, so I'm now on page 186. I've also just realised I'm pretty much dressed the same as I was yesterday, but like trust me, time has passed and I've read quite a lot. So yeah, I'm on page 186, which is the Unforgivable Curses chapter. We've pretty much just been introduced to Mad-Eye Moody. Obviously I haven't checked in recently, so there are a couple of points over the last 200 pages I would like to touch upon. The first one is Arthur making the Dursleys say goodbye to Harry. I just really liked that, and how Arthur from a wizard perspective is still like, look guys, you're really fucking rude. And yeah, just him putting them in their places, even though he wasn't actually threatening them. They don't know that because they're incredibly dense. So I enjoyed that. And similarly, leading on from that, there was the bit where Ron was complaining about his dress robes when they were in the Burrow. Mrs. Weasley says like, I can't afford to buy you new robes, I had to buy you second hand and they didn't have a lot. And Ron's like, well, I'm not wearing it. And Harry's like, well, I've got tons of money but you won't accept it. I just thought it was like a really, like, I grew up in an environment where a lot of my things were second hand because we couldn't afford new stuff, and I appreciate that that felt quite real. And I felt awful for Molly because I was that kid sometimes that was like, I'm not wearing that. Like I would love to have these now, but I had a pair of Lion King leggings that I really hated. And I was like, I don't want to wear them because they were really bright colours and everybody else was wearing like Nike tracksuits. But I couldn't afford Nike tracksuits, so that's what I had to wear, and I used to kick up a fuss about it. I just felt so bad for Molly because she tries her best and she's a really great mum. They just don't have a lot of money. I'm finding the dialogue with Hermione regarding the house elves interesting, how she is pushing for equal rights for house elves, and I feel like that is a very good commentary on society and pushing for the rights of those who cannot fight for their own. I can't remember where this goes. I know that I'm pretty sure that she like builds a foundation or something for the rights of house elves, but I can't remember whether she gives up because they don't care or whether it becomes a thing. And yeah, I'm just generally enjoying this, which I'm really happy about because the first two books that I reread in this series, The Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, I was not into, and I was seriously worried that I was going to be making a series of book diaries about Harry Potter, like the most loved series ever, and being like, I don't love these, they're okay. But no, Prisoner of Azkaban and this are really damn good. And I remember when I was reading the first two books I was kind of disappointed, and I was like, okay, so I was a kid when I read them, but surely they weren't this bad, surely they weren't this boring, like they must have had something special, and they do, just from book 3 onwards. Okay guys, so I'll admit that I don't remember the exact circumstances in which Barty Crouch Jr. kidnapped Mad-Eye Moody to pose as him by using the Polyjuice potion. I remember it happens, but interestingly, Mad-Eye at Hogwarts is fair. He's like a little bit unstable, but he's fair. He's a good teacher. After the lesson where he shows them the Cruciatus Curse, he comforts Neville and takes him into his office and gives him a cup of tea and a book about plants and says that Professor Sprout said that he was really good at herbology. So I mean, like I said, I don't remember the exact circumstances, but I remember that Barty Crouch Jr. was a little bit insane, and so I'm wondering, like, how is he being reasonable? How is he cool? How is he a good teacher? How is he compassionate? And all of these things, and it just seems a little bit odd. It seems very, very odd. Right now I'm at the part where Moody knows that Harry knows about the dragons, and he's being cool with him. He's like, oh, I'm not going to tell anyone, like, cheating is a traditional part of the Triwizard Tournament. And he's like, oh, I don't have favoritism, so I'm not going to give you any tips. Just think that's a little bit strange because Barty Crouch Jr. is a criminal, right? So how come he's being kind of reasonable? Okay, so I've just got past the first task, first trial. It was the chapter that was actually called the first task in Goblet of Fire. And I did not realise, like I must have, the first time I watched the movie I must have realised this, but now so far on when I'm more familiar with the films to the books, I did not realise that the whole scene in the movie for the first task where they're flying around the castle with the dragon chasing Harry, and he's like falling off the roofs and like the dragon's crashing after him, that is not in the book. In the book, he just flies up into the air, distracts the dragon for a bit, like sways around and makes it dizzy, and then he just dives in and gets the egg. And I am shook. I am so shook because I just completely forgot that that was not something that happened in the books and that was just added for the movie. I was kind of disappointed because the dragon thing is like a big thing in the movie and it's so exciting to watch. So like I was kind of like, well, that's underwhelming for the first trial of the Triwizard Tournament. But yeah, I'm loving this book so much. I'm really excited for the end of this because already creeping into book 3 and throughout book 4, it's a lot darker, it's a lot more complex. We're seeing a lot more teenage angst as they're getting older. And I feel like the first 2 books in the series are kind of throwaway. They can kind of be standalones. They don't really have a lot in them that really integrates into the greater plot of the series, aside from the fact that the Tom Riddle's diary is a Horcrux, which comes into play in book, I think it's the last book is just about the Horcruxes, or maybe no, it's the one before that as well. Is it the Order of the Phoenix that's before that? No, it's the Half-Blood Prince. Oh my god, the last 3 books, I just never remember what order they go in. I think it's the Half-Blood Prince where they start looking for the Horcruxes. So yeah, I feel like the first 2 books are kind of like throwaway, whimsical, ooh, children's fantasy. And then from book 3 onwards, you start to get this huge overarching plot that's like really, really complex and interesting. And I'm loving that so much. The writing style in these, I've said it before when I read The Chamber of Secrets, but even more so now, it is so transferable. These books are so good because they're not just for children. Books 3, I'm assuming through 7, can be read by anybody from any age and they're really interesting. J.K. Rowling does not dumb it down for kids. I mean, you have this kind of surface level magical story, a boy goes to a magical school, and it's accessible for children and it has a narrative that children will definitely enjoy, but there is also a lot of complexity in here. There is a lot of abuse that you only pick up when you read it at an older age. There are more complex words that I probably didn't understand all of when I was a kid, and I just love that these books are so transferable. It makes sense now why they are sold in the adult fantasy section as well, because these are not just for children. I would say the first 2 are, but the rest of the series, you can take so much from them even though they are aimed at children, and I really appreciate that. So guys, I just finished Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and it's been a very long time since I've updated you, and I totally planned on catching up with my updates earlier today. I've been writing notes of things that I wanted to share, but it's just I've done a lot of reading of this in places where I don't have my camera. But then my battery died, so I didn't. And I was going to go into a lengthy discussion about a theme that I feel runs through the Harry Potter books, but now I feel like I'm going to save that for my next book diary, because it's just like a general thing about the Harry Potter world. I love this book, and I have to admit, when I read the first 2 books, I did not think that I was going to enjoy this series like I did when I was a kid, and I thought that people who enjoyed this now were just riding on the nostalgia, especially like people say from the ages of 20 to 30 now. They're just riding on the nostalgia of having read and loved this when they were a kid, have grown up in the phenomenon that was Harry Potter with the books and the movies. But they're really, really good, and I've said it 100 times, but they're not just for children. This story is good for everybody. Everybody can enjoy this, and I thought that it was wonderful. It's so complex. There are themes hidden in here that you don't pick up when you're a kid. For example, I don't think that Ludo Bagman was bad, but the fact that he was sent to trial and he got off so easily because he is a sports player is something that happens in society, but as a child I never would have picked that up. And then you have Snape. Snape, who is awful. Snape, who I love, which is part of like the overarching themes I wanted to discuss, but I love Snape. And I've come to realise through reading the books, especially this one, that I actually love Alan Rickman, and that Snape as a character is so complex in that he is neither bad nor good. He is cruel to his students, and I could respect Snape and I could appreciate Snape and like Snape still if he was indifferent and he was kind of not abusive and cruel like he is, but if he was just not nice to any student that wasn't Slytherin, if he favoured Slytherins and just didn't like any other child. But there is a scene in this where Malfoy and Harry hex each other, but the spells bounce off and Harry's hits Crabbe or Goyle and Malfoy's hits Hermione, and Snape sees them and he sends Crabbe or Goyle to the hospital wing. Hermione has quite large teeth and this hex has made her teeth keep growing. Ron says that Malfoy's hex hit Hermione and Snape says that he didn't see any difference, and Hermione starts crying and she runs off, and it's just cruel and it's just unnecessary. But I believe that the only reason that Snape teaches is because he's a double agent and he needs to be near Dumbledore. So he is working for the side of good and putting himself in this position that he does not want to be in. He doesn't want to teach children. I'm just going into the subject now, so never mind, I'm not saving it for another book diary, we're going into it right now. I don't think he wants to teach. I think that he is on the side of good because he loved Lily. That turned him against Voldemort. So he wants to be on the side of good. It benefits him to be near Dumbledore because he is a double agent, and so that means that he has to teach. And he doesn't like kids. He probably knows that he can't like Harry Potter or not treat him with venom because of how he feels about his father. And I find Snape's character to be extremely complex because when it comes down to it, he is on the side of good, but he's not a good person. At the same time, you have Lucius and Narcissa, who are on Voldemort's side, but when it comes down to it, eventually they would rather save themselves and their son and they leave. So they're on the side of bad, but they're not completely bad people. And it's this complexity of characters that's just like really, really intriguing. There were moments in this that shocked me because there are a lot of things in this that are very different to the movies, and this is the point in the series that I was waiting for, the point where it takes a dark turn, the point where everything starts to come together. I think I mentioned it earlier that the first two books are pretty self-contained and like throwaway stories, and then we start to get a little bit of something in book 3 where it starts to get like a little bit darker and it's a lot better written. And then this is the turning point in the series. I think that I'm going to be right and that this will be my favourite book in the series. I think Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows are going to come really, really close. If anything, I think Deathly Hallows is going to pull slightly ahead of the Half-Blood Prince, but this is going to be either one of my top 2 favourites or my favourite book in the series, so I was right about that. I liked that with hindsight at the end, I noticed that Dumbledore called for the Order of the Phoenix to reassemble. I liked that he sent Snape to see Voldemort to rejoin with the Death Eaters and restart his double agent life, which must be fucking hard for him because he's on the side of good, even though, like we said, he's not a good person. He wants nothing to do with the Death Eaters, and once again he will put himself in a position he doesn't want to be in for the side of good. So Snape isn't, I don't think Snape is either good nor bad. I think the movie softened his edges a lot and made him a more likable character. He's almost comically bad in the movies, where you see him like in kids' stories, you have this character is like supposed to be bad, and that's Snape, but he's never as abusive as he is in the books. And I feel like we appreciate him as a character who has the misfortune of being the one who is always going to be bad no matter what, because you have to have like this random bad guy in the story. Same with Malfoy. He turns out alright in the end, but he's an absolute dick throughout the rest of the story. So I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm going to give this 5 stars. I really loved it. I am going to be putting Harry Potter books in my best books of 2019, I think. I'll mention my favourite book in the series at whatever position I put it in, because at this point in my life, rereading these, it's like reading them for the first time. Normally I don't include rereads, but normally I reread books that I've read only a couple of years ago just to refresh myself for the story for the next book in the series. But that is everything for this book diary. Please let me know what you thought of Goblet of Fire, because I know that it is a lot of people's least favourite books in the series. It's either their favourite or their least favourite, so let me know what you think about the book. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in my next book diary. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.